Hello, I'm Billy Hoffman from Rigor. Today we're going to be looking at how fast is Expedia.com. Specifically, we're going to be using them to illustrate an example of part of a site that a lot of people overlook when they're doing optimizations. So let's actually drill down. We scanned Expedia using our commercial product, and we found they're loading 140 resources and about 3.5 megs of content. That's a lot of content, not an egregious amount, but certainly a lot. Now, a lot of people, when they'd be optimizing this site, they would focus on the 139 resources that are all the dependent resources, all that JavaScript and CSS and fonts and images. And I'm a big fan of those too, because they usually constitute the bulk in terms of the number of requests and the content being delivered. But what I want to focus on today is that base HTML page, because it is literally the bottleneck for everything else. It's the first thing that has to happen before any of those dependent resources can get checked. And sure enough, if we look over here, Expedia is actually doing a pretty good job on their dependent resources. There's certainly some image savings that they could do, but some stuff always slips through. They're not missing anything with HTTP compression on all those dependent resources. So let's take a look at that base HTML page and see what we can do to actually optimize it. Well, we see that there's actually 26 performance problems with it, and that's a lot. For example, they're not using dynamic minification to actually minify the HTML. And sure enough, if we look at the HTML of this base response, we see a whole lot of white space, a whole lot of comments, just a whole lot of just general lack of hygiene, for lack of a better term. I don't even know what this is. A whole bunch of HTML comments saying abacus test, like, stop using your end users when you're trying to go down a conversion path as some sort of test bed, right? Like, this is just crazy. Like, there's no reason for this junk to be there. And this junk is actually accounting for essentially 13% of the total size, right? This is 60K, and this whole thing is 470K. So they're right there. That's something. They're doing other crazy things. For example, there's 214 tags here that are input type equals hidden. And if we actually scroll down here and see what we're talking about, basically for every hotel listing on this Expedia page for hotels in Atlanta, every single one of them has a separate form with essentially a whole bunch of hidden input form values repeated each time. And some of these input values, look how long they are. Like, there's an enormous amount of content. In fact, these 214 tags, I went through and just summed up all their length. It's 68K of content. So this 214 tags represents another 68K of markup. So just between minifying and this incredible number of HTML tags, you're looking at 120, 130K of savings out of a 470K file. So you're talking, 25, 30%, which is pretty ridiculous. We see, for example, they're defining a whole bunch of inline style rules that never even actually get used. What's going on here? So we see right here, look, all these style rules that they defined in length, like, these things don't even get called by the base page. So this is just silly. There's a whole lot of kind of hygiene of the HTML. They have a whole bunch of resources that aren't even being displayed properly. So really, it's just kind of an interesting overlook that everyone can really focus on everything to optimize all of these dependent resources, all the images, all of the fonts. But we see here, for example, they minified every single piece of content except the base HTML page. So when you're focusing on a site and you're trying to make it faster, definitely focus on bang for your buck optimizations, but just remember the key role that the HTML page plays, that it is the critical path for all other resources being downloaded. And all the great optimization rules that you're adopting for all of your dependent content, make sure you're adopting that for the base HTML page as well. Thanks for listening.